Midnight. 1 a.m. In a city that never sleeps, there are still corners where the silence feels heavy, almost predatory. Leo Miller had just graduated from the academy. He was still breaking in his boots, his uniform damp with the cold fog of the graveyard shift. He expected his first week to be filled with noise complaints and routine traffic stops. He was wrong. The call came in from the edge of the industrial district, a place the locals call the dead zone. The voice on the other end was brittle, barely holding it together. "Officer. Please." The old Miller Heights apartments. You know, the condemned ones. Every night at midnight. Someone is playing. It's a piano. Sounds wrong. I haven't slept in 3 days. Leo drove to the site. The Miller Heights block stood like a rotting ribcage against the dark sky. The brickwork was crumbling, and the plywood over the windows was warped, looking in the moonlight like a row of blind eyes watching him approach. He stepped inside. The air was thick with the scent of wet drywall and decades of stagnant dust. Every step he took sent a cold echo down the hallway, as if the building itself was following him. As he reached the 3rd floor, he heard it. It wasn't the rich, majestic sound of a grand piano. It was the dry, hollow tone of a cheap 90s electronic keyboard. The pitch drifted. The rhythm was erratic. It sounded like a dying pulse. Weak, hesitant, and chillingly persistent. Leo entered room 302. There, on a scavenged wooden crate, sat the keyboard. The room was empty. No squatters. No pranksters. He approached it, his flashlight beam trembling. He flipped the device over. The battery compartment was a gaping hole. There was no power cord. No wall outlet nearby. A wave of static-like dread crawled up his spine. The keyboard was a plastic corpse. He keyed his radio, his voice tight. "Dispatch. I'm on 3. Room is clear. The source is an old keyboard, but it's not even powered on. Must have been a recording from outside. Returning to." He froze. Behind him the keys depressed. One by one. As if invisible, skeletal fingers were pressing down, searching for a melody that refused to be forgotten. Leo didn't wait for the next note. He bolted. 20 minutes later, his training officer, Sergeant Thompson, arrived. Thompson was a 20-year veteran. He'd seen every trick in the book and didn't have time for ghost stories. "Probably a wireless speaker hidden in the casing, Miller," Thompson grunted, kicking the door back open. "All right, Joker, show's over. Come out with your hands up." Dead silence. They decided to bag the keyboard for the evidence locker. But as they reached the threshold of the room to leave, Thompson suddenly stopped dead. The color drained from his weathered face. Leo followed his gaze to the window. Outside, suspended 3 stories above the concrete, was a pale, shimmering blur. No face, no features, just a tall, white void hanging in the air, peering through the glass at the instrument in their hands. They didn't say a word. They grabbed the keyboard and ran like hell. They didn't look back until the precinct lights were in sight. The next morning, Leo took the keyboard to a local electronics repair shop. The old tech behind the counter opened the shell, poked around for 5 seconds, and pushed it back across the counter. "Waste of time, kid," the man said, wiping grease from his hands. "The motherboard is fried. The internal wiring has been corroded for years. Look at the corrosion on these contacts. Even if you hit this thing with a lightning bolt, it's physically impossible for it to make a sound." Leo felt the blood leave his head. He remembered the sound. That dry, hollow plink-plink, echoing in the dead silence of Miller Heights. If the machine was broken, if there was no power, then who was playing the song? So before you go to sleep tonight, take a look around. Do you have an old keyboard in the closet? A dusty piano in the basement? If you hear a single note ring out in the dark, do yourself a favor. Don't go looking for the batteries. If this story kept you up, hit the like button and subscribe for more tales from the edge of the dark. Stay safe. The night is longer than you think.